Hey, what's going on, parents? If we haven't got the chance to meet, my name is Will. I'm the lead student pastor here at Hope, and Elijah Keck is with me.
Yes.
And we are in part 2 of one-offs. Part 2 of Letting Go.
Letting Go.
Where we're really just kind of hitting through some bullet points based off of this phenomenal book called Feeding the Hand That Bites You, which I would highly recommend.
Yeah.
Get the audiobook, get the paper book. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite parenting books that I've ever seen out there. And we're talking about letting go. The first part of the second part. The first point for me is talking about balancing freedom and support. We talked a little bit about this last week. We didn't say it in those words, but it's the idea of letting life's consequences be felt by them. Give them space. Let them know you're available, but give them space. Let them know, hey, I'm here to help, but that's on you. Hey, I'm here for you, but that's your responsibility. Hey, how can I help you? It's kind of the idea of like you're advising, you're not controlling. So how can I help you with the freedom that you have that you need to work on? How can I help you set up a system so you can remember your homework?
Yeah.
Because I'm here for that support. And it's a balance of it's freedom for you to do it, but then step in because they need your support. But we do have to look and find that boundary of what does freedom versus support look like?
Yeah.
Because support is not always everything. Like it's not everything, but then it's also not abandonment.
Right. Yeah, and I love it. I love the idea of like that safety net. It's like if you're on a tightrope and you're learning, you have a harness on first, you really can't fall off. And then slowly that gets looser, and then somehow the harness comes off. And then if they fall, there's a safety net there to catch them. And that's really, as students get older, I think that's part of the role that parents play in that is being the safety net. My parents still do that for me as I'm older, as I make mistakes. You know, they help catch me, help me get back up.
I love that's a great example, because even in gymnastics, when it's time for the real show, the safety net is gone.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yep.
Hey, hopefully all the training is good and there's no missteps along the way, because it could damage you, which is real life.
Yeah.
Like that's
good.
Real life. That's good, Elijah.
Thank you so much. Going into the next thing, start early and adjust as needed. Start this idea of giving freedoms to students around 13 to 14. They're teenagers. They want that freedom. They want that autonomy that we talked about last time. Start granting some of that. Help them see that you want them to have that. You want to work towards that goal with them. And as they're doing that, and what that could be is like helping them choose hobbies. I think that's a great example. Like sometimes as parents, we help choose hobbies.
Mandate hobbies.
I played baseball. You play baseball. Yeah. I did this. You did this. But man, if they're interested in stuff, let them choose those things, and that gives them that freedom to feel like they're their own person, and they know how to do that. So that way, when they get to college, they can make decisions for themselves in that way. Same thing with like choosing. You know, I always tell parents like it's awesome when students choose church. Because then when they graduate, they've already done that. They've already chosen church over other things. And so letting them choose those things, obviously we want your students to come to Hope students, but they're seniors for some of them.
Yeah. And eventually they do get to choose. And, you know, there's always the tension of when it comes to church, when do I force them? When do I let them? Yeah. More often than not, I would say force them, but I would say force them to Jesus. Yeah. They don't have to be forced to youth group always. Yeah. Are they doing Jesus things with Jesus people? That's so good. Even if it's another youth group, we care more about them being plugged into church than our church. Also on that, I would say every year there's at least one or two students that I hear about where they're like, yeah, I'm running track because I hate track, but my parents make me. Yeah. And 100%. I'm in every parent's corner. If the student starts the season, I want to play baseball. Right. Do it. And then they're like, no, I'd rather quit. It's like, well, you have to see it through. Yeah. You have to finish the season. But like you're saying, like, man, don't force the sport. Don't force the band. You know, if they don't want to and they're not committed to it that year, which can be tough because you're like, I spent all this money on a trombone. And now they're like, no, I don't want to do the... Like, hopefully rented the trombone. I don't know. I wasn't in music, so I don't know the music.
But start small. Start with small things, and as they become more responsible and can take ownership of those things, then you hand off more and more as they go.
Yeah, and then the next thing is embrace mistakes as growth. me and my wife are trying to do this with our toddler right now. We don't want to punish accidents. If she knocks something off the table, we want to watch our reaction as like, "God, are you kidding me?" You know, we want our best to not punish accidents, and then we would advise it. Well, I say we in this book. It advises help them see mistakes as growth. How can you grow from here? How can you get better? Like, don't always overparent, and then they can't feel the mistake, because then if they can't feel it, maybe they won't grow from it. And then on the other side, if they're making mistakes, let's be cautious not to only hammer them down and accidentally pile on a bunch of shame, where it's like, oh, let's see you as, or we can see this as a growth opportunity. In the book, they say a bad grade or a late night won't ruin them. It's how they figure out who they are. Resist the urge to rescue. Always. Sometimes we have to resist the urge to rescue, and then when something happens, to help them see it as, hey, this is a growing opportunity. You can grow from here. What do we do from here?
I'm in like the baby side of this, because I have a 1-year-old where I have to resist the urge to rescue my child when he's crying in his crib, when he needs to be going to sleep. Yeah. And I know he will go back to sleep, but my heart is like, no! I will help you. I will rescue you.
It probably gets way worse.
It gets way worse.
When they're teenagers, when they're...
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The next part is reduce conflict and build trust. Reduce conflict, build trust. Some of you are like, have you met my child? How do I reduce conflict with them?
A lot of attitude.
Yeah. Build trust. Find the ways to build trust with children, or with your children, with students as they get older, and that'll help a lot with that conflict. When students feel trusted, when they feel like they have partial autonomy over the things,
control.
They won't push. Hopefully, won't push back as much on the other things, because they know that, man, my parents are on my side.
Yeah,
they're fighting for me. They've hopefully we've communicated the end goal. Like, this is what I want. This is, these are the goals we have. Let's work towards those. When those expectations are put out there, it helps people see the end goal and the why behind some of the decisions. And the more freedom and trust you can build with them, the less pushback you'll get. And then you just get to be like, helping them and cheering for them on their side, rather than what seems like opposition.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we were recently at a conference together, and there was a comedian that talked about like kids on a leash, like leash kids, the backpack with the leash, which is very necessary when they're little kids. They might run in the street, or something like that. But then teenagers can often feel like there's not a physical leash, but there's a understanding of, no, there's a leash with life. Yeah. You don't get this freedom here. You don't get this. And they will fight tooth and nail against that, versus the tougher process. This is way easier said than done. It is a much tougher process to work on reducing the conflict, aiming towards trust, parenting towards relationship, helping them see values over rules. It is a lot easier said than done. This book does help. Buy the book, Biting the Hand That Feeds You. It'll give you even...
We didn't even write it. I mean, we're not making any money off of this.
Zero money. No.
Maybe we should be sponsored. No.
But all of this leads up to our last point, which is all that we're doing, we're preparing them to launch. We're preparing to launch them. We're not even preparing for them to never talk with us again, although it's going to be way less when somebody, they move to a college, they move to a city. But you are doing a good job as you're preparing them to launch as a adult, as an 18-year-old, 20-year-old with planned emancipation, that planned towards freedom and autonomy and all of the things that are way more difficult done than said in a 10-minute podcast.
That's true. But I think all these things together really help, and I think as we continue to grow, and as parents, you continue to grow yourself as leaders of your students, and put all these things into practice. They work really hand in hand with each other. But I believe this. I believe you can do this, and you are not alone. God is with you, and so are we. Catch you next time.